what got published. So I don't know. Kind of a mess. I think they need to update that whole but they probably need like new software they can't afford updating it. Sometimes they'll get back to you like within 30 minutes, and sometimes it's like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, like I've seen Erica get back to me really fast. I think it depends on the length of the regulation.
Oh, Army at First Light.
Thank you, sir. It's funny.
You told me to sit here.
Yeah, where's the agenda? Agenda?
Here's mine.
No, you can. That's fine.
Do you want me to move over this one? He told me, he called yesterday and told me he had COVID. He said, sit at the end. Do you want a mask? So did I. All right. So here I am. And I've got my agenda. You've got your agenda.
I have an agenda.
You have an agenda.
Crystal, look at you. Is it 1 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay, I usually listen to Gloria, but. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Public Service Commission meeting. We have a great crowd. That's nice. I wish we had this many people here all the time to come and be with us. Maybe we should do that last, right? Okay, we have a reading of the meeting minutes from October 4th. Does anybody have any changes, corrections, additions, comments, or a motion? Commissioner,
I move that the meeting minutes be adopted as submitted.
Second the motion?
any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Commissioner Correa is taking care of family matters today, will not be present. He obviously is not voting. Okay, speaking of the state of the company, we have the state of the company by Delmarva Power and Light Company. So welcome, Delmarva Power and Light, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Come on forward, please.
Okay. Are we ready to get started? Okay, all right. Good afternoon, Chair Winslow and Commissioners. Thank you for giving us the time to be here with you today. First, I would like to introduce our leadership team. Tyler Anthony is our Pepco Holdings President and CEO. Rodney Adoye is our Pepco Holdings Senior Vice President of Governmental Regulatory and External Affairs. And then Doug Mulcoy, who is the Delmarva Power Region President. So our leadership team is here today to provide you with updates on Exelon, Pepco Holdings, and then Delmarva Power. We hope that this presentation covers all of our key updates, and we also look forward to any questions that you have during our presentation today. With that, I'll turn it over to Tyler Anthony.
Yeah, well, good afternoon, Chairman Winslow. Good afternoon, Commissioners. As Amber stated, my name's Tyler Anthony. I'm the President and CEO of Pepco Holdings. And, you know, we were talking a little bit sidebar before we got started here. And it feels like yesterday that we were here for our last one. I don't know if anyone shares that, but the year just seems like as I get older, that the year just feels like more like a month. But in any case, we're going to go through, each of us have a speaking role here today. And what I like about this, this forum is it gives us a chance to have a conversation on the big picture of the company, you know, what we're doing in dedication to the state of Delaware, what we're doing in dedication to our customers, and a little bit of a balanced conversation on the fact about it's very important to us about how we show up in the community, our different attributes that we're trying to provide to be better community stewards, and we're going to cover all of that today, so we look forward to the conversation. I'm assuming everybody has the slide deck, and I can refer to slides. Is that refer to slide numbers? Is that okay, Chair? Okay, so we're going to start with slide 3. You know, Amber teed up that, you know, we're somewhat of a new company. Now, I characterize that in that way because at the beginning of this year, Exelon Corporation divested its generation assets and split the company into 2 companies. So the generation company became Constellation Energy, and Exelon remained a strictly transmission and distribution business. And what we have on slide 3 is the outline of what the new company entails, okay? Basically, what I'm responsible for is the CEO. You'll see the 3 companies at the bottom of the slide. Pepco, which services Maryland and the District of Columbia, here in Delmarva, as well as Atlantic City Electric. And the reason I share this with the commission is the fact that what's good about this now is that, you know, I am Exelon, okay? I'm a direct report to Calvin Butler. Our focus is now singularly around transmission and distribution. There's no distraction with any of the generation type issues or support in those regards. And the separation has been completed. Although our mission is similar, I would just describe it as more focused, okay? If you turn to the next slide, what I'll characterize is why is that important to the people in this room. What I wanted to share is my experience where, you know, I have the benefit of being Delmarva's Chief Operating Officer for almost 7 years, and now I've been in the CEO role here. We're coming up on 2 years. And the benefits that Delaware gets for being a part of the, I'll say the parent company, and now us here in Delmarva is this. You know, we basically get to share best practices. I'm very involved with a cross-sharing of best practices across all of the Exelon utilities. And a little bit of background as an example, we host 50 what we call Tier 1 indicators at each of the utilities. And we do natural comparisons on a monthly and then sometimes on a weekly basis where we have a very strong commitment about sharing those best practices here in Delmarva. When it comes to different items like platform on computer systems and different items like, for example, new IVR voice recognition systems, we can have one of the Exelon utilities develop it, do all the legwork, and then just pass the best practices to the other utilities. Other areas include training and programs. Basically, when we buy material at scale, we have the benefit of the scale of the purchases. And I'll also say, you know, intuitively, also access to talent. I'll go a little bit over my leadership team. You know, I had come here to Delmarva back in 2016. I had spent a good portion of my career running Chicago and Northern Illinois' electric system, and I was able to bring all that experience here to bear at Delmarva. You know, so what's the outcome of what I'm describing? It's a pleasure to report to the commission today that we've had the lowest outages ever in 2022 here in the state. In addition to that, and I know the priority of the commission around affordability, it's also a pleasure to report that our operation and maintenance expense, our compound annual growth rate the last 6 years was 1%. When you look at the consumer price index at 3.5%, those best practices also lead to much more affordability for our customers, and I'm keenly aware of the importance to this commission around affordability. Okay? If we shift now from Exelon, and I go directly into Pepco Holdings, I'd ask you to turn to slide 6. You know, I had mentioned the breadth of talent that I have access to when it comes to Delmarva Power, and this is just a lineup of my senior leadership team. And without trying to boast, I feel like I have, if not one of the best utility leadership teams in the country. You know, just a couple comments. Tamla Olivier next to me in the picture, she came to us as the CEO from BG&E Home. She's one of the best operators in the business. Phil Barnett, our chief financial officer, he just architected a $35 million racial capital fund for Exelon that we're also taking applications in Delmarva for needed capital investment in diverse startup businesses. Then we have Moreland running customer, and you'll also hear from Rodney. You know, Rodney's going to talk through, but I hope as he kind of talks his talking points, you'll get a sense today. It's important to me that we show up differently as a utility. The interconnection with the community, we're going to cover some details, but I give Rodney an extreme amount of credit for how he drives that in our company and what we stand for. Okay, so big picture, that's the leadership team. Now, if you go to slide 7, I also thought it would be helpful to talk about some of the larger results, or, you know, in reference to this. And this slide here for the commission is we break up performance in the U.S. through EEI into quartile performance. I had mentioned about our top reliability, but this just gives you a sense of when Delmarva became part of Exelon, and we were able to exploit some of the benefits I covered. The results here, whether it's the reliability, our customer sat, our abandon rate, our gas performance, and the sensitivity around safety up at our gas company, you can just get a sense of where we line up in the industry. And there's many indicators where we're either first or second, but in general, been some solid performance here for our customers. Okay, and as I move on to slide 8, and this will be the last slide I covered, I also thought it was important to talk to the commission about being the new CEO here as I come up to my second year tenure. Whereas I came into the role, Dave Velasquez was my mentor for the 6 years as COO here. And as I took over, you know, and I showed you my new team that we selected here a few years back, it was important to me to establish what did we stand for. Now, we can all have the comment about, well, Tyler, your role is to keep those lights on. And I can appreciate that, and we take that extremely seriously. But what I wanted to do was say, well, what did we stand for? And what this slide depicts on slide 8 is this is our strategy house. And there's really 4 tenets to what, as CEO and the direct leadership team, what we're focused on. Okay, and I'll start from left to right and just a few comments about each of the 4 pillars. So we'll start first with enabling solutions to climate change. You know, we were talking, had a little sidebar about the Governor's Energy Advisory Council, the recent mandates for what the goals is here in the state of Delaware for 2050. And this first one is, I personally believe that we're the highway for carbon reduction, and we need to be an active partner versus a passive participant in decisions either the commission's making or the state is making about how to get to reaching the state's goals in a way that's affordable and a way that everyone participates. So this first one is we need to enable climate change, whether it's our solar penetration here or the different items that we've been working on with the commission or with state legislators. That's a key tenet for us. If you move into the second one, this enhancing grid performance. I think the best example of this is we all remember recently here in August. You know, I've been in this business a long time, and whether or not you're committed that we have climate change as an issue or not, one fact I would point out to everyone is I've been in the business a long time. I pay attention to weather on if not a daily basis, on an hourly basis because of the importance of it. But we just had in August here 110 mile an hour wind gusts up north that, in my experience, where it was shearing poles off mid-span, I was just amazed at some of the weather patterns that we're having here in Delaware, but even broadly in the U.S. And the second one is about enhancing this grid performances. You know, whether we're replacing aged equipment or we're taking some of these older wooden transmission lines and we're converting them to steel, I think as we continue to chip away at that, this grid, as we start to hang the transportation industry on it, the dependence of where we're at with the grid. You know, I often get into conversations with employees about the importance of what we do. and we could all in here argue most sustainable things to our lives is, you might say, air and water. I'd ask you where electricity is, and you might say fourth or fifth, but it's moving up. He wants it as number one. I think that's a good thing. I'm a little nervous, but I think that's a good thing. But no, thank you for that. And that's my point. Thank you for that. My point is, we take that very, right. Well, and today, in the past, when you think about our whole lives, living online, working at home, I don't need to convince everyone, but it's important, and it's becoming more important. So the second one is, I believe a deep responsibility that this grid is ready for the demands we're going to see in the next 5, 10, and 20 years. And that supports some of our investment plan. And I know that's also been an appropriate concern by our public advocate as well as the commission about, Tyler, we're not interested in gold plating systems here. We're interested in defined investments that are critical and crucial. And I had been talking with Doug and others, and I said, boy, like, I think down here of some of the upcoming projects in Brandywine, Christiana, offline outside of this room, we spend a lot of time deliberating about that, okay? But in any sense, item 2, I'm responsible to have this grid to be ready to withstand whatever comes at us, whether it's weather or whether it's the demands that are increasing. And then third, I'll move over, and this one's probably the most important, I'll say most sensitive one to me, is about this social equity. As I mature more and more every year, I gain such an appreciation for the importance of social equity, and everybody participates on that. Last time we were here, Commissioner Gray landed in a very good way on me about how are we making sure everyone benefits from solar? How do we make sure everyone benefits from electrification, and what does that mean? But I'll say, Rodney's going to cover this in depth. It'll be interesting to see the commission's reaction as we kind of aggregate the different items. We've been trying to show up differently here the last 2 years, okay? And then last, superior customer experience. I'll summarize customer in this way. There's no decision that I'll make that doesn't ask 2 fundamental questions. What is the customer benefit, and what is the affordability? We all know what's happening with inflation. We all know what's happening with interest rates. I believe, the culture at Delmarva Power, where we constantly ask, how can this be done more cost effective? Do we really need it? What does it do as it impacts our customers? And you'll hear some of the specifics from the team today, but we drive hard to be a partner with the state on connecting people that are struggling to pay their electric bill with the necessary support and the advocacy that we have. I've had personal meetings with several of your different groups, and our all-hands meeting, we've had them about the partnership we have with each other to match the programs with the people that need the help. We'll cover some of the specifics of that. Okay, so I'll pause. There might kind of high-level comments to see if the commission has any questions for me about it, but it's just an honor to be here again in front of you guys. It's been an honor to be here the past 7 years.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. That's very interesting. I do have one question, but I'm going to hold it until everyone makes their presentation.
Okay, very good. I'll turn it over now to Rod. Oh, yeah.
I have a couple of questions, if I could. Thank you. You had said with respect to number 5, you ask yourself 2 questions, one of which is, what is the customer benefit? But, I assume that you've read the DPA's and staff's comments in the ISR dockets, and for the last 4 years, we've been saying that Delmarva doesn't do any cost-benefit analyses for stuff. So how, I hear you saying this stuff to the commission, and it sounds great, but that's not always what it is in practice. And so.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I'm very familiar with your question because we obviously get the feedback today, and we go back and we take it apart and see how can we do better. And your comment about cost-benefit analysis, I think it would be cumbersome for us if you have a 20-year-old transformer or a 40-year-old transformer leaking oil, whether or not it needs replaced to do a cost benefit. I think we might agree on that.
We're not just talking, that's a very discrete
Now let's take the bigger projects.
You get any argument out of
Yeah.
with that. But where we do have some big problems is that, your customer base isn't growing. It's not showing any, projected substantial growth. But in the Port Penn area, and I don't have the exact numbers, so don't
It's okay.
quote me on this, but you're putting in basically 3 times the infrastructure that you need to serve that area. And, we're not saying you can never put it in. We're just saying you shouldn't be putting it in now because it's not used and useful.
Yeah.
And it's just stuff that's gonna have to be replaced later.
Yeah, we'll take that specific one and get back to you on a good analysis of that one. But what I would say in general is, I do think your challenge on where is it appropriate to do a cost-benefit analysis? Maybe can we do it on everything at a certain dollar value? Where it becomes those larger decisions, is there more we can do in working with staff and others to kind of, like, for example, like, I'd love people to come out and take a look at some of this stuff that we're replacing that's 75 years old and take a look at what we're proposing. But in any case,
That's all well and good, but most of us aren't engineers and we're not gonna know that. But, it would be fine if our engineer could do that.
yeah, sure. Mhm.
But, I think my point is that, and I'm not arguing
Yeah.
one for one with you here. This isn't the time or the place. What I am suggesting though is, a lot of times what we hear during these state of the companies isn't how it's happening on the ground when we're actually doing the work.
Okay, yeah. No, I appreciate that. I'm sorry you feel that way, but transparency is very important, and I think dialogue is also very important between us. Okay. Okay. All right.
All right. Good afternoon. Did you have
Mr. Drexler has a question.
okay.
Mr. Anthony, I have a question. You're talking about enhanced grid performance in light of weather incidents and the demands of higher electrification. What do you see as the biggest obstacle? Is it interconnection? Is it the generation mix? Is it having sufficient generation mix? What, in your opinion, or in the opinion of Delmarva, what is the biggest obstacle to that?
You mean the biggest obstacle going forward? Like, I would say, like, number one, for my first reaction, I have to give it some thought, but my first reaction would be affordability. So the state has let out some aggressive climate goals, and there's a cost behind that. And we just, had some debate about the investments in the system. And then we have a section of our population that's hurting every month to pay their bill. So my answer to your question would be, our ability to balance all of that and get to an affordable position that everyone can participate, I think that balance is overall. So I would have said, number one, I would have said affordability.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay? All right.
Okay, well, good afternoon. I am Rodney Odoye, as stated previously, Senior Vice President for Governmental, Regulatory, and External Affairs. In that capacity, I have the privilege of essentially leading all the external-facing functions for our 3 companies, and Chair Winslow, commissioners, everyone in the room. Thank you for having us today. My segment of the presentation will be to really hopefully show you how we are invested in the community. You heard from Tyler about our performance. Tyler often says what we do essentially is the gas and the electric, right? And so when you come home and you flip the switch, hopefully the lights go on, and if they go off, hopefully we get them back on in a timely fashion. But that isn't who we are, right? Who we are is what we mean to the communities we serve, and I hope to really give you a glimpse into that in terms of some of our work we've been engaged in over the past year, and that we'll continue moving forward. When Tyler, just to recap about the energy transition, and this will hopefully become clearer as I walk through the presentation, we're obviously seeing more severe weather events driven by climate change impacting our system more. Obviously evolving customer expectations, and we just had a little bit of dialogue around that. The grid is going to play a key role in essentially getting clean resources to our customers. And then also we want to ensure that it's an equitable and fair transition as we go through this climate change and the transition that will be required in the utility and energy space for it, while we continue to also keep an eye on affordability and the impacts to our customers. When you consider the experiences we've had over the last 100 years and the experiences we'll have over the next 100 years, I would argue that we need to really do some things differently. We need to engage differently. We need to partner with our stakeholders differently. And our ask is that we lean into that with all our stakeholders, the commission and staff included, to really think through how we can solve some of these problems. And that could include maybe new rate-making mechanisms that are more appropriate as we think about planning the grid moving forward, removing some of the linkages between utility revenues and sales, right, which impacts customers either directly or indirectly. And then also collaborating to ensure, and Commissioner Gray, you mentioned this last time we were here, around are we working with all external stakeholders to support all parts of Delaware on solar, with microgrids and the like. So we'll talk a little bit about that. If I could transition you to slide 10. So one key theme I would love for you to walk away with today is that we are more than energy at Delmarva Power when we think about our community work. And that when I was here last time, I gave you a preview of a new org we were standing up, Corporate Community Impact. And since then, we've really been engaged in what I believe to be some pretty tremendous work. Our commitment really goes beyond delivering energy. And if you think about companies today, here even in Delaware, they are the social fabric of the communities they serve. Our employees live, work, and play in the communities where we find ourselves. And there's a responsibility that comes with that. We're leading the way when it comes to this work. We have a corporate champion right here in Delaware with Dr. Tony Allen, the leader at Delaware State University. And we're really doing some remarkable work with Dr. Allen and his team there. The picture on slide 10 was a picture taken which includes Commissioner Gray, a visit that you had with Delaware Public Advocate Ruth Ann, as well as Matt Hardigan to our workforce, to see our workforce training facility in Newark. Workforce development, in our opinion, will be a game changer as part of this energy transition. We need to ensure that we're building a workforce that will be capable and ready to really work on this grid, and also to tap into all resources available for that. Dr. Allen challenged us directly with regards to making sure that we were focused on HBCUs where you have tremendous talent, which oftentimes is overlooked, and we've put into place some specific measures to do that as well. Slide 11. So a couple things. How are we doing this? We're doing this through multiple dimensions. We're using what we're calling a place-based approach. And so just for clarity, place-based approach essentially says where you find yourself, and Delmarva Power is an anchor institution, right? Most utilities are. If you look across the country, most utilities that are operating have been in existence well over 100 years. So we're an anchor institution, and we mean a lot to the communities we're in. And a place-based approach essentially says, how can the utility partner with other anchor institutions to really improve impact and evolve the social determinants of those communities? And so for us, what this looks like in Delaware, as an example, is the work we're doing at Delaware State University. We've partnered really directly with Delaware State University. We've engaged in some programs. And we did so in partnership with them and getting feedback. And Tyler mentioned that in his remarks, listening to our community partners as well as our civic partners. And what we see in Delaware, given the disposition of Delaware, is that everyone kind of knows everyone here. And so when we think about our nonprofit work, what we were seeing is that a lot of our nonprofits were essentially at odds with each other with regards to resources to support some of those same constituents. And so what we've been doing over the past year, serving as a convener of those nonprofits, as a convener of those stakeholders, so we can be a little bit more intentional and strategic with regards to how we move our priorities forward. The picture that's noted here are several items. Amber Perry, who leads our regulatory processes for Delaware, who all of you should know, engaging with students as part of our Delmarva Power Takeover. I attended that. That was a phenomenal day. We brought some of our electric vehicles down, new technology for students to really put their hands on, to engage with our leadership. And you know, candidly speaking, I've been in this industry for 20 years. It's the only industry I've worked in. I know you're chuckling. Only industry I've worked in. I started right out of college. You know, unfortunately, there are a lot of students who don't have access or know what a career in the utility industry could be. And if we're not present in showing them directly what that could be, they'll never have that sight. And you know, to spend a day, and we were here with senior leadership and line people, and we took over that campus. Commissioner Gray, I want to thank you for your presence and actually participation even on a panel at that institution to showcase the opportunities. And we even brought in, Dr. Allen brought in some of the high school students to listen to us directly and to get the opportunity to engage. We brought our mobile command center here. This is a command center we use to Tyler's point he mentioned about the storm that came through and impacted Delaware. We have these mobile command centers that we can deploy to where the damage is most significant. We brought that to campus and allowed students and faculty to really engage and to see that directly. That was huge. The second pictures are about customers reviewing a bill. When we talk about affordability, making sure that people understand all components of the bill, the supply portion different from the distribution. The third picture was us volunteering at the Delaware Food Bank. And then the last picture is a high school college summer opportunity that we held, to learn about our business. And so we want to be the employer of choice, and we want Delawareans to think of our company as a place they can build a career at, and we're actively engaged in doing so. Slide 12 is just a continuation of some of the efforts. I wanted to drill down a little bit further, so to put some specifics around the investments we're making. As I stated again, the gas and electric is what we do. It's not, it doesn't define who we are. Our commitments, and we're starting with the HBCUs, but we also have plans actively being evolved for our community colleges, as well as all the academic institutions. When we think about the IIJA as an example, in order for us to compete appropriately for grants, we will need to partner with academic institutions where a lot of research is occurring. So what we've done specifically at Delaware State University, which is one of our premier HBCUs across the Pepco Holdings family, is we've committed approximately 1.8 million, over the next 3 years specifically to Delaware State University. And what will that do? We didn't just commit those resources, but we actually came down to campus. Tyler did, brought the leadership team down. We met with Dr. Allen and his leadership team for a good part of the day. And then we unleashed our teams to partner with the institution to think through how we could build these sustainable partnerships. And so the $1.8 million over the next, think about this, over the next 3 years, students can get up to $50,000 per year for their education. We also created a persistence grant. And what we learned specifically, and this was more an issue with our under-resourced institutions, was that during the pandemic, when a lot of learning went virtual, a lot of students in these institutions could not go virtual. Either they didn't have access to the hardware to do so, or didn't have the high-speed internet in the homes that was required. A lot of people ended up using their cellular service as a hotspot for learning. And so that's an example of an area where the college now has a persistence grant they can use to support students within that ecosystem beyond tuition. We've also expanded our partnership with Del Tech Community College, where students, they can get up to $5,000 per year as well too, and we continue to kind of build out these programs as we move forward. As I bring the portion of my presentation to an end, I wanted to also note our engagement with our civic partners in Delaware. I've been very impressed. I've been in the role now 2 years. I've been very impressed with how all stakeholders in Delaware are really working towards a common cause. So our engagement with the Chamber of Commerce, as an example, is an area where we expect to really boost the economy here in Delaware. We just stood up a new economic development organization that reports directly into my office, and we will be partnering with the various agencies here in Delaware to start to expand some of our programs to really support the economy here. So with that, I'll pause here because I know you probably have some questions more broadly for us, and transition it to Doug, who will get into some very specifics for Delmarva Power. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you, Rodney, and I want to just make a couple of comments. First of all, my view is that if you can't see it, you probably won't be it. So I appreciate you guys for showing up, because you're really showing the next generation the opportunities and potential. The utility sector needs to look at its workforce for the future, and I am a strong believer and supporter of making access to those careers available to all. And I sit on the subcommittee of education at NARUC, and my view is that these bridges need to be built back into the institutions of higher learning. They sit into communities that are going to be affected by the grid transformation and the transition. And I envision that the institutions ultimately can become the voice to explain why these investments are being made, not these costs that they have to pay in their rates, but they are investments and which returns are going to accrue from them, including jobs for the community. So thanks for inviting me to be engaged in some of these efforts, and please keep up that work. I think it's very important. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bless you.
God bless you. I'd like to talk a little bit more specifically about our efforts in Delaware, starting with our diverse spend and equity. And I would couch this with, hearing from Tyler and Rodney about their focus on equity. I just wanted to echo that. We at Delmarva Power fully appreciate and take very seriously the role that Delmarva Power plays in Delaware's regional economy and also all the communities that we serve. From a diverse workforce perspective, we're at 43% at the end of 2022. Our work is not done there, right? We need to continue to build a workforce of the future that reflects all the communities that we serve. But I'd also am happy to report from 2020, we were at 34%. So we're making progress, 9%, and we're going to continue our efforts there. And what you heard from Rodney about our efforts at Del State, some of our workforce development programs with FAME and other nonprofits in the local high schools, and our general recruiting efforts will help drive these numbers even further, so we are more reflective of the communities that we serve. From a diverse spend perspective with our contractors and local businesses, we're at 40% of our total spend was diverse last year, $140 million. That's an increase, that's our best year ever, and it's an increase of $28 million from 2021. So those two statistics that I just highlighted really shows our commitment to those areas in the communities that we serve, and something that, while we're proud of, we are by no means satisfied with. Now, when you look at energy assistance, Tyler highlighted knowing that many of our customers continue to struggle. In our efforts, we were able to help customers in 2022 secure over $18 million of LIHEAP energy assistance funding. And then you've heard a common theme here from Rodney and Tyler about partnerships and the value that we place on them. I think the bottom left bucket, where it's $1.9 million, those arrearage management funds, we were able to partner, I think, pretty closely with the PSC staff and also the public advocate late last year in using the funding available from our arrearage management program on providing forgiveness on past due balances to over 2,700 low-income customers in Delaware. So again, really working to impact all the communities that we serve. If you go to the next slide, I wanted to talk through our operational performance in Delaware. And really, I attribute this to our year-round planning and investments that we've made in the system. They continue to pay dividends for all of our customers. We are first quartile in both the frequency of outages that Delaware customers experience and the duration of outages that those customers experience. From a frequency perspective, as Tyler mentioned, we had our best year ever last year. And then from an outage restoration standpoint, I say this every year, and I hope it comes across as genuine. Our employees are the best in the business. They live and work, obviously, in Delaware and the communities they serve, and they care. And that's evident in their response to major storms and outages on blue skies days. So we're very lucky to have the workforce that we have. These numbers attribute to a 50% decrease in the frequency of outages over the past 10 years. You know, I think in any industry that you look at, I think the pandemic probably accelerated it. Customer expectations are rising. Now, I don't know if any of you have Amazon Prime. I'm sure you all do. When you look at your delivery, if I have something that's $23 and I'm $2 away from getting that delivery in 4 hours, I'll find something else just to get that delivery, right? Now, I try to just get it to where it's $25.01. You know, I try to do that, but I want it now. And I think in all aspects of our life, we want it now. We want uninterrupted service, and we need it. And when you look at the role that we play, and you heard number one, right? From being there for customers and the importance of it, especially with the grid of the future. We have to continue to make investments in our system to be there for our customers. These efforts are resonating with our customers. We're very, very, very proud to report that we received the #1 ranking in the 2022 J.D. Power Electric Residential Customer Satisfaction Study for in the East Mid-Size region. So our customers are, it's definitely resonating with them. Tyler mentioned on the August storm, the 110-mile-per-hour straight-line winds that impacted 45,000 Delmarva Power customers, about 24 in Delaware, mainly in Newcastle County. That was some significant damage. But with some of the investments we've made on distribution automation, sectionalizing, transmission investments, we were able to, and again, leveraging the size and scope of Exelon. Because when you have events like that, and some of our other sister utilities, and whether it be Pepco or ACE or DPL, PECO, and even as far away from ComEd, we can leverage those resources to bring them here and for the benefit of Delaware residents. So that really shows the benefit of the size and scale of Exelon. I'd be remiss if I didn't hit on affordability here. We're doing all of this while maintaining residential bills that are below the average residential bill rate for the Mid-Atlantic region. So I'm very proud of that. Next slide on our gas system. We're making progress in the overall modernization of our system, which is core to our commitment to provide safe and reliable service for all of our customers. In Delaware, we maintain 3,700 miles of gas distribution pipeline, about 2,200 miles of main, and about 1,500 miles of service. As you see the stats there, I would say a couple of points. Each year, we're replacing about 8 miles of our cast iron main, and when we complete that program, in 2027, we'll reduce air emissions by over 14,000 metric tons. We field about 4,000 emergency calls a year, and we perform about 55,000 seasonal leak inspections. I'm happy to report, again, getting back to the best employees in the world, so for gas odor response, 99.98% of our odor calls are responded within the 1 hour time frame. That's top of the industry, and it's just reflective of the commitment that our employees have for the safety of the communities. And then again, when talking about affordability, we purchase from a hedging perspective, and it's reflective in some of our recent announcements, but we purchase about half of the natural gas. We purchase and store about half of our natural gas that we need for the peak winter time in the summer when the prices are low, right? Just to hedge that, so we're not up against it, when prices are higher. So continue that program. Next up on slide 17, I'll just highlight several of our items around clean energy and our climate goals. I think at a core, though, we are working to provide new clean energy services and choices to meet our customers' evolving energy needs, and then Delaware's goals to achieve net zero GHG by 2050, right? So that is core to what we're doing. Talking about solar, at the end of last year, we had about 8,000 Delmarva customers that installed private solar, totaling about 82 megawatts. Happy to report that as of today, there's more than 100 megawatts. So the demand continues to rise, and that is good. And we're an active participant in Senator Hansen's working group discussing the evolution of net metering and determining, how to manage the growing interest in solar. As we discussed last year, there's been overwhelming support for community solar in Delaware. We continue to work with developers to advance their projects through the interconnection process. There are 99 active projects, which represent roughly 315 megawatts of solar capacity currently in our system. We're also piloting an innovative cost-sharing mechanism to alleviate barriers for solar developers by allowing them to share the financial burdens on upgrades. And also in the near term, we have about 40 megawatts of those projects that are in detailed engineering and construction phases, and we hope to see customers begin participating in 2024. So we'll continue to keep staff and commissioners updated on that. Related to the IIJA, we very much appreciate the Commission's letter of support for our initial IIJA application, which was around undergrounding Delaware infrastructure for resiliency. Unfortunately, our application was not selected for an award. As an FYI, out of the 144 concept papers that were encouraged to move forward this year, Department of Energy only made 7 awards to large utilities as part of round one. We're going to continue to participate in round 2. I would say the undergrounding project, while it is disappointing, that was an $84 million project that would have accelerated our storm resiliency efforts by undergrounding and upgrading distribution infrastructure in under-resourced communities in Wilmington. So we're going to continue to look for ways to advance that forward, and we're going to continue with the work. We think that is definitely where we need to be, but we'll continue there. I would say, from a regional perspective, you may have seen the Mid-Atlantic Hydrogen Hub, located in Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey, was awarded up to $750 million. Delmarva Power was a partner in this application, providing a letter of support and proposing a role to act as an off-taker there, and we definitely see future benefit for the state of Delaware and the communities with that. Moving forward, we are going to aggressively pursue all available federal funding opportunities and learn from how we could continue to make our applications even stronger. I do see an opportunity, and Rodney highlighted it. We have some really strong anchor institutions in Delaware that are both for Delaware, but I think nationwide. You look at Del State University, one of the preeminent higher education institutions in the country, right? And how can we partner with them and other like institutions to partner on applications that will ultimately benefit our communities and customers. So we'll continue to keep staff, the public advocate and commission updated on that. And then just lastly on this slide on offshore wind, as Tyler mentioned, we're well positioned to support offshore wind. We've met with DENREC staff and other stakeholders, and we've also to evaluate path forward. We've met with the governor's office in DelDOT to discuss our experience in Maryland and offshore, and we continue to be engaged with offshore wind developers. So it's a topic at top of mind. Going on to the next slide, around partnering to strengthen our region. And Rodney and Tyler covered a lot here, but I do want to focus on a couple areas. So specific to energy assistance, our team has held 25 outreach year to date that's touched nearly 5,000 customers. And getting back to all of our comments on partnerships, specifically in this area and really all the areas, partnerships are so key. We recently held an event, energy efficiency assistance event in Wilmington with Councilwoman Oliver, the work group, DENREC, and Energize Delaware. We had 150 customers there that day, and we were able to provide them information on energy assistance. The results are that our efforts are working. Last year, we had about 6,200 customers apply for distinct energy assistance applications, and we're up to 8,000 year to date this year. So full year last year, 6,200, year to date this year, 8,000. Those numbers are working. And so the partnerships, and it gets back to even our partnerships with staff and the public advocate, they're working in this area. Next, I just want to talk about our sustainable communities grants. In partnership with the Delaware Nature Society These grants support local nonprofits and municipalities with funds for open space preservation, environmental conservation, and really community resiliency projects. We've given out $180,000 to date since the inception of Sustainable Communities, and $90,000 total this year. A couple of the ones I wanted to highlight were the Delaware Wildlands, $7,500. The grant will be used to restore 84 acres of coastal plain seasonal ponds and tracts of forest in Newcastle County. And then there's a grant for the SNAC. It's used to develop a pollinator habitat to support garden-based environmental curriculum in Sussex County. I feel it's important that when we're looking at impact that we have in the state, that we're looking throughout the state and making sure that we're doing that, and that's top of mind. Next slide. Around driving economic vitality in Delaware. Again, Delmarva Power, I can't underscore this, as our role as utility provider in the state. It's a huge role in Delaware's economy, from launching careers to supporting, growth industries. We take that very seriously. Delmarva either directly or indirectly supports over 4,800 jobs and around $585 million in labor across Delaware and Maryland. Think about that, that's huge, right? And we need to do it equitably, and we need to do it equitably, and that's what we're focused on. And overall, we provide about $3.1 billion of overall economic impact between the two states. And when you look at some of our workforce development initiatives, we have a program, Path to Success, where we provide training to local juniors and seniors in high school for entry-level jobs in the industry field. And I say jobs, that's an error. They're careers. They're middle-class, sustaining careers. And again, as Rodney highlighted, and Commissioner Gray, as you highlighted, if you don't say it, you can't be it, right? So we feel it's very important. This year's cohort, we had 16 participants. 6 were seniors. 4 of them elected to continue their careers, or educational careers, at Del State, 1 at University of Delaware, and 1 at Del Tech. So we have our eye on them for a variety of fields here in 4 years. And 2 others are actively through the CAS testing process and it's a guaranteed offer of job employment either with Delmarva, one of our partner contractors. We have 25 total graduates of the program to date since its inception. And again, showing you how we're accelerating our efforts in this area. We'll have 25 additional graduates we're planning by June of 2024. So again, we're accelerating those efforts, throughout the educational fields. My last slide here is on the Indian River reliability must run. I thought it was important just to get this in front and just talk about updates. Overall, we're working to complete the rebuild of the Vienna to Nelson transmission line as quickly as possible to minimize cost impacts to Delaware customers. We understand and share the Commission's concerns with the financial impact of the reliability must-run charge on on Delaware customers. These transmission systems upgrades are underway and will be completed safely and quickly as possible. The longest duration transmission project, the Vienna to Nelson 138 kV transmission line, has pretty complex environmental requirements which require certificate of public convenience and necessity from the Maryland Public Service Commission. We're working to complete that rebuild as quickly as possible to minimize the impact to Delaware customers. We filed our CPCN in April 2023 ahead of schedule, and we are anticipating approval by the end of 2023. And we appreciate the Commission and DPA's letter of support in the proceeding. So it's important here to note that a typical residential customer would only see an increase of about 40 to 50 cents a month for our required system upgrades, as opposed to the more than $6 a month they're currently paying.
Excuse me, could you speak directly in the mic? Thank you.
My name is Ruth Price. I'm the acting public advocate, and I wanted to ask you precisely what is the length of the transmission system Delmarva is responsible for?
The actual mileage or the?
Mileage.
I don't want to give you a bad number. I can follow back up with you. I want to give you the exact number. I can follow back up with you online. I just know the construction timeline.
I have been very vocal, very, very vocal at PJM regarding RMRs and the cost, the length, and the requirements for RMRs. And when you don't know the mileage right offhand, when do you think your portion, Delmarva's portion, of the transmission line will be fixed?
Well, we're expected to begin construction Q1 of 2025, and we're have it in service by the end of 2025, and we're working to accelerate those timelines, if, whenever possible. I mean, I'm not making assurances or guarantees, but we always look to, how can we, work those timelines.
Yeah, and I share your concern. This is one item that's at my level. We're doing routine updates. We're doing updates on deliveries like steel poles and some of these longer lead time items. What more can we do to collapse the schedule? That's an ongoing question. What you see here in the slide, that's the current projected end date, but I commit to you, we're doing everything we can to pull that even sooner.
And I think, in general, when I hear about, the questions on the RMR and then some of the initial questions on projects that we have in flight or that we're thinking about from our distribution system planning process, I do think one of the keys here, and I think Tyler and Rodney both highlighted, is communication and just updates. So from what I took from comments at the beginning is that Delmarva, we can continue to work on how are we communicating and how are we explaining the reasons behind, whether it be system upgrades that we need to make. And if you are having questions about it, we need to do more in that area. So I think there's an opportunity for us to continue to build that partnership, because I've seen in other areas where, we talk about energy assistance or some of the workforce development efforts or some of just the partnerships in the community. I think we're showing that when we're, when we're communicating and each side, that we can make some good progress. So that's what I would commit to.
And when do you intend to start your work?
Construction, the Q1 of 2025.
Q1 of 2025, and end by the end of 2025?
Yes.
Has Maryland started any of its work yet?
There is, this, from a Maryland perspective, no work has started on the Vienna to Nelson transmission line. That is the line that would be, that is like the longest lead item, we're not anticipating any other work, any of these other required transmission upgrades would extend that timeline, if that makes sense. We're responsible to complete the rebuild of the Vienna at the to Nelson transmission line.
Yes, but I'm saying in Maryland, have they started their work yet?
I don't want to give you the wrong information. I know the timeline is pretty condensed, so we can follow back up with you to give you a timeline on everything. I don't want to, I know there's obviously in the next couple of years to wrap this up. It's in the near term if it hasn't in earnest started. And I don't want to say that if it's some preliminary actions being taken that I'm saying, yeah, it's in earnest started, when it really, is just some of the preliminary stuff. So I think, to be fair, I'll get you the detailed breakdown of the entire project schedule, so you have that.
I am very, very concerned about this, as well as Brandon Shores and the rest of them, because they cost our customers an average of about $6 to $7 per month, correct?
Well, the Vienna to Nelson is about $6, yes.
Yes. And consequently, for you, that may not be much money.
No, I disagree with that statement. $6 a month on a bill, and if your bill is $100 and it's 6% of that bill, or if your bill is $200, $6 is a lot of money.
And so therefore, I would like to urge Delmarva to do everything possible to speed up, everything possible to speed up the completion of this line and this RMR. Not that you all are responsible.
No, I appreciate your advocacy for the Delaware customers, and I share your concern. And I think, this gets back to we're willing, and the commitment that I have to you and to the staff is to, if we need to work even more closely together on this and put our heads together and brainstorm what additional ways we could work to expedite this project, that we do so, and that we're leaving no stone unturned, and that if you have feedback for us on our areas that you think that we should be attacking that maybe we're not, that we also do that, and then we take your feedback.
Yeah, and if I could add, just listening as well, and we certainly share your sense of urgency around, and I talked about impacts to customers and communities. This is an area where I think the power of Pepco Holdings platform, Exelon's platform, benefits us, right? Because there's a Maryland component as well too, right? And so we're dealing with the Maryland Public Service Commission as well too, right? And so, and I know a letter was filed from here to there urging them to really move on that permit. We're looking across the portfolio because we have customers on that side as well too. And so the commitment is that we're bringing to bear all of Pepco Holdings resources, our regulatory processes on the Maryland side to really make sure that the Maryland Commission, understands the priority on this project as well too. So I wanted to emphasize that we're not looking at it purely from a Delmarva perspective because we know there are other variables that impact the timeline you just described.
Yes, and I would like for you to know what sort of communications you have with Maryland
Certainly,
regarding this project.
certainly, we can do that.
Do you have a point of contact in Maryland regarding this project?
Sure. Amber's counterpart. So Amber is responsible for Delaware as well as New Jersey. We have a vice president that's responsible for the regulatory process in Maryland as well. That individual reports to my office as well too with Amber. So we'll get you a comprehensive perspective on this particular project, including the Maryland side.
Is it possible that the commission as well as the DPA and staff could have a monthly update of what's going from Delmarva, a monthly update regarding this RMR project?
Yes, yeah, that's no issue. We'll definitely do that. I mean, I know.
Is a takeaway. Yep, absolutely.
We'll take us
Question
action.
also.
Mr. Drexler.
The project in service date is Q4 2025.
Yes.
Is there then a 90-day time period during which the Indian River would continue to run before it has to be or will be taken out of service? Will they run concurrently or consecutively?
I think that's all information. Well, we can continue to provide those updates as it evolves, and we'll look to shrink that 90-day date. If there's an opportunity to move that forward, we'll do so. But I think that's all part of we can make monthly updates. Yeah, because I mean the Q4 of 2025. The estimate then is October to December. So I think the actual as we proceed here. Make progress on the project, we can continue to update, and then as we work through with PJM, et cetera, we can make sure that we're updating you with the latest and greatest information.
I do believe there is some sort of a 90-day period of time, and we've been talking to PJM about whether that needs to be shortened and should be shortened.
Yes, that's my understanding as well, and we'll again work every avenue to ensure that this is in service and that the surcharge to the Delaware customers is off as soon as possible.
We hear you loud and clear. We understand the importance.
Yep. Point taken.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Ms. Iori?
Sorry.
No, thank you. Commissioner Drexler finished off what I was going to add, so.
Commissioner Gray?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one question each, one for Mr. Morcoit and one for Mr. Anthony. Mr. Morcoit, I'll start with you, and it's not Indian River related. What can you say publicly about cybersecurity, especially in the recent climate of unrest due to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? Anything?
Cybersecurity is one of our core priorities and top priorities at Exelon. We understand the importance of the electric grid and that bad actors will try to, given its importance in our society, will try to infiltrate that and be bad actors, right? So I think from our perspective, we have a number of internal programs that we have specifically focused on cybersecurity, strengthening our cybersecurity systems, working with a number of external partners at all levels of government and law enforcement, and continued. I know we provided a cybersecurity briefing earlier this year to Commission that when appropriate, we can do some additional closed-door briefings, obviously, with the Commission and staff to provide any relevant updates. But it is top of mind for us as we move forward.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Anthony, I want to refer back to slide number 7, if you don't mind. If you can get to that page, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm looking at the first entry, the OSHA recordable rate, which seems to have remained static from 2015 to 2022. Is this affiliated in any way with safety metrics?
Yes, it is.
Can you address, for example, why that may not have changed?
You know, well, I'll start with, is it meeting my expectations in second quartile? The answer is no. I believe in this last quarter period, we have migrated up to first quartile, however, still not meeting my expectations. I think safety is the leading indicator for leadership and engagement with the workforce. And I personally believe without safety, nothing else matters to that level. So I think your question is appropriate. And what I would say is in my tenure, what I find that drives this indicator the most when individuals are getting hurt, it's leadership's ability to have the informal channels to know what's going on out in the field and being present to acknowledge it and remove roadblocks and concerns. So big picture, it's clearly a focus area of ours, and I do agree that needs to be well into the green. In fact, we shouldn't just be top quartile, we should be top decile.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that very much, because that would be an interest I would have as well, is that you and all of your team remain safe and get safer as time goes forward. Lots of transformation on the grid, lots of new technologies on the grid, so I'm just hopeful that you'll stay very focused in that arena. Mr. Chair, I have no further questions.
And public advocate, if I may, just to answer your question, it's 14 miles. I knew it was between 10 and 20. I didn't want to say 10 and didn't want to say 20, so I wanted to get it. It's 14 miles.
We appreciate you adding the financial information on the last page. I know Mike will be happy to see that in a very condensed form. I do have a question about that, and that is the long-term debt is obviously that you have maturities and new debt coming on. Are you being affected in any great measure by the increase in interest rates right now?
The answer is yes. However, there is, different hedging strategies and different risk profiles that our financial organization has embarked on to minimize that impact. But yes, we're feeling the same impact as everyone else, but we do have a pretty, I'll say, strong strategy about how we maintain that as least impact as possible.
Thank you.
I think I heard the other day that Delmarva was anticipating another round of long-term debt or short-term. Is that true?
We have a variety of, and I have the information, but we have a variety of long-term debt instruments, varying maturities, 10, 30-year mortgage bonds, et cetera. We can provide you an update offline around anything that you're specifically requesting. But we have a pretty, to go into it now, it's pretty extensive, but we can definitely share with you our
We can share the schedule with you, what that looks like.
Yeah, and it would be good to get maybe direct insights into what you read. The company, because we manage our debt profile across all our utilities, we tend to go out and secure our debt long-term for the three utilities independent of each other. And so if you could give us maybe what you saw or read, we'll be able to get you specifics around any impacts internally. But we'll look at the debt of the entire company pretty strategically.
But to the earlier point, interest rates definitely affect us. Okay.
Sounds like that's the end.
Yeah.
Anything further, gentlemen?
Just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and and we hear the comments today from the public advocate as well as the commissioners. Thank you for the feedback. I think, Doug, you summarized it well, we want to be seen as a transparent partner that's active in helping either our communities or this electric grid, and we take the responsibility seriously. So, Chair, I just want to thank you for everyone's time today.
It was an excellent presentation, and we sincerely appreciate it. I like the emphasis on partnerships. I think that's reaching out into the community and to workforce, et cetera. And I think that the only thing I'm jealous of is that Commissioner Gray got 2 pictures in your presentation.
Yeah, I was sensitive
I'm
to
the
that.
chairman.
Yeah. Chair, so let me, I'll
Maybe
put,
next year.
no, I'll put this,
You
I'll
have an
put,
electric vehicle?
yeah, I
You
know,
have
I
an
know.
electric vehicle?
I'll put this invitation out there. We're just getting started with our work here in Delaware. Delaware is our platform upon which we are building our community partnerships, and we're going to replicate that in the other jurisdictions. We will, at our next event, expect to get an invitation from us. I think it's very powerful when our community partners see us out with you. So, point taken.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
The other side of my humorous comment would be that I think that Commissioner Gray should be congratulated for being in the places he was when he got his pictures taken, because I think that's a good thing for us commissioners to do, is to get out there. So, and having said that, Ruth, I just want you to know that I sat next to the chairman of the Maryland Public Service Commission at a panel in Chestertown, and the topic I had with him was the topic you talked about to Doug here. And I can assure you that Commissioner Drexler at OPSI and others that run into the Maryland commissioners, after the word hello, the next question we ask is, what's going on in Maryland? Because we're very much concerned about that as well. So hopefully all the concern will be turned into pretty efficient action at some point in time. So thank you very much, Perry. Thank you. You do
Mr. Chairman.
a wonderful job of reaching out. I appreciate your efforts, and safe trip home, everyone.
Mr. Chairman, before you relieve them from the room, if it's just about a photo, I'm thinking each of them has a smartphone in their pocket before they go.
You've got to show up, actually. That's the requirement. So.
Yeah, I've got a smartphone, but sometimes the user is not so smart, I guess. That's the problem. Okay, I guess we need to get back to the agenda. We have next, I believe, the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything that wants on the consent agenda taken off? Can we have a motion, please?
Move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
Is there any discussion on that motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Correa is absent, and the consent agenda is approved. The regular agenda in the matter of the Chesapeake Utilities Corporation, Delaware Division Infrastructure, Safety, and Reliability Plan, the IRS. We have Lindsay Foy here, and please kick it off.
Thank you, Chair Winslow and Commissioners. Lindsay Foy on behalf of Chesapeake Utilities Corporation. You have in front of you proposed order number 10306, which will acknowledge that Chesapeake filed its annual infrastructure safety and reliability plan according to the regulations. We filed our proposed plan, or submitted our proposed plan to staff and DPA back in April, and participated in various conference calls with them and their consultants and responding to data requests since that time. We filed our final plan in August. Staff and DPA submitted comments. We submitted reply comments, which I'm sure you've seen, so I won't belabor that. And we did have one additional call, I think earlier this week or last week, to clarify some of the consultants' recommendations to make sure that we fully understood what they were asking of us. and can implement those going forward. So I thank staff for preparing the proposed order and allowing us the opportunity to comment, and I would respectfully request that the commission grant order number 10306. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pope?
Thank you, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. Summer Pope on behalf of staff and the DPA. Today for your consideration is proposed order 10306, which acknowledges that Chesapeake's final ISR plan was filed and consistent with the regulations. And I won't repeat everything that Ms. Foy just went over, but staff is in agreement with the proposed form of order today. We did meet with Chesapeake earlier this week to go over our concerns with the comments that we wrote in our comments. Chesapeake was in agreement, so we recommend the commission approve the proposed form of order. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Iori?
Thank you, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. Ms. Pope was responding for both staff and the DPA. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions?
That we adopt proposed order number 10306 as presented.
I second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Commissioner Correa being absent, the motion carries. Thank you very much, Ms. Foy. Number 2 is in the matter of the application of Chesapeake Utilities Corporation for approval of energy efficiency programs for natural gas customers and rate recovery mechanism. And we have proposed order number 10318. Ms. Foy.
Thank you, Chair Winslow and Commissioners. Lindsay Foy on behalf of Chesapeake Utilities. You have in front of you proposed order number 10318, which will open the docket for Chesapeake's application for approval of energy efficiency programs for natural gas customers and rate recovery mechanism. Chesapeake filed its application in this docket on September 1st, 2023, seeking approval from the Commission to establish a portfolio of energy efficiency programs and corresponding energy efficiency rider. The portfolio consists of 4 programs: Home Energy Counseling and Checkup, Home Performance with Energy Star, Assisted Home Performance with Energy Star, and Standard Offer Program. Chesapeake collaborated with staff, the DPA, and the SEU in the development of this portfolio, and on August 9th, 2023, the Delaware Energy Efficiency Advisory Council voted to approve Chesapeake's portfolio and rate recovery mechanism and recommend them to the Commission. Proposed order number 10318 opens the docket, sets deadlines for the publication of public notice, intervention, and written comment, and designates Mark Lawrence as hearing examiner. Chesapeake thanks staff and the DPA for the collaboration on the draft opening order and respectfully requests the Commission approve proposed order number 10318. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Foy. Ms. Pope?
Thank you, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. Summer Pope on behalf of staff. This order, like Ms. Foy said, opens the docket, provides a form of public notice, appoints a hearing examiner, and establishes a date for intervention and for comments. Staff supports the proposed form of order and respectfully submits that the Commission enter it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Iori?
Thank you, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. The DPA thanks staff for drafting the proposed form of order. We look forward to discussing this with the Commission at a later date.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the parties?
I move that we adopt the order number 10318 as submitted.
I second.
Commissioner Drexler, just by a hair. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Commissioner Correa being absent, 4 being in favor, it passes. Thanks again, Ms. Foy. Number 3, in the matter of the petition of the Delaware Division of the Public Advocate for a temporary reduction in the water rates of the Tidewater Utilities Incorporated, pending the final determination of a just and reasonable rate. And we have I guess we have Mr. Geddes. Who do we have here for this?
We have everybody.
Everybody.
Important.
I'm
I'm happy to start if you'd like.
Why don't you start? For some reason, you're at the top of my list.
Well,
Ms. Iori, you ordinarily would be at
that
the
might be a
top of my
first, but I'll take it. Seriously, this is a joint petition, staff and the DPA. petitioning the commission to make the rates that you entered August 10th, 2022, which were temporary rates, permanent. The order states the reasons why it's important for these rates to be permanent so that the risk to customers in the future is limited. So they're not exposed to the difference between any temporary and permanent rates. So it's a joint petition requesting that your order that was entered August 10th, 2022, setting the rates, reducing the rates by about $2.2 million, that those rates be permanent, and then they will be reviewed the next time the company files for a base rate case. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Scott?
I don't have any comments. I think Mr. Geddes outlined very well what is in the petition. We've reviewed the form of petition and order and do not have anything further to offer.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Scott. Do the commissioners have any questions of the parties? Commissioner Drexler?
Move that we adopt order number 10313 as presented.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Commissioner Correa not being present, 4 in favor, the motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Scott. Number 4, in the matter of the application of Delmarva Power and Light Company for an increase in electric base rates and other miscellaneous tariff changes, we have apparently Ms. Pope.
Thank you, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. Summer Pope on behalf of the Commission. For the Commission consideration today is proposed supplemental opinion and order number 10316. As you recall, in March of 2023, the Superior Court remanded the Commission's decision in Order 9953 regarding Delmarva's prepaid pension asset and other post-retirement employment benefits. Specifically, the court found that there was not substantial evidence supporting the decision. So on May 22nd, 2023, the Commission held a publicly noticed Commission meeting on the matter. No new evidence was presented to the Commission at that meeting. The Commission heard the positions of Delmarva and the DPA on the subject and voted again to include the PPA and rate base. So for your consideration today is supplemental order, opinion and order, which hopefully the Commission finds acceptable in consideration of the Superior Court remand and will favorably consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pope. Ms. Iori?
Thank you, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. The DPA didn't see this draft order until it showed up on the agenda. Haven't really had an opportunity to review it. It was not circulated to the parties as has been the practice since I've been doing this work. So I really don't have anything to say about it.
You don't ask for any particular,
No, I have nothing to say about it
okay. Mr. Jordan?
at this point.
That was an ominous at this point.
I might have something to say in 30 days.
No, we understand that.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Brian Jordan, on behalf of Delmarva Power and Light. May it please the Commission. First, I wanted to thank Ms. Pope for drafting this, and also thank council on all sides for the advocacy on this. It was very insightful, and Delmarva's in support of the order. Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Commissioner Gray?
I read it, and it's suitable from my perspective, but Mr. Chairman, I wonder if it makes sense to table this until the next meeting to give the public advocate an opportunity to weigh in.
Well, I think that's what I had on my mind, and she said she had nothing else to add, so I didn't think to make that comment, so I wouldn't be supportive of that, but I understand where you're coming from. If anybody, obviously, if there's 3 commissioners that want to support that, then that'll happen, but
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we table this to our next meeting to give the public advocate an opportunity to weigh in.
Second that motion?
okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by aye.
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 Okay, so it passes, and hear this on our next meeting. Okay, let's see. We have one more matter left, I believe.
2,
Two, I'm sorry,
5,
two.
and 6.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, number 5 is in the matter of the adoption of rules and regulations to implement the provisions of 26 Delaware Code, Chapter 10, relating to the creation of a competitive market for retail electric supply service. And we have, once again, the ubiquitous, long-serving regulation number 49 before us.
12 years.
It'd be a historic number of times it's been before us. And we have Mr. Geddes, who I believe has been there for every one of those appearances.
I was trying to, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was trying to think of something smart to say about this case, since it has been around for 12 years. It's like a Christmas tree. Everyone says, well, just put it in that docket, put it in that docket. And finally, people said, now this is quite confusing because we've put everything in here and it doesn't make any sense. And so this is a request by staff, Ms. Gannon in particular, because she's the person that administers this, to try to separate some of this stuff out. And I think her memo is well-written and tells you exactly why it is more efficient and provide more clarity if we could separate some of the Christmas tree balls, if that's the appropriate analogy, or whatever, from the current Reg 49. So net energy metering and the community energy facilities regulations would be, with this order, if you adopt it, would be placed in separate reg dockets and removed from Reg 49. We all know that dealing with regulations is somewhat cumbersome, but this is a start to try to disaggregate, if you will, these types of regs from the underlying Reg 49 regulations. And if you approve this order, we'll start the process.
In the future, could you put somewhere like formerly known as Regulation 49, so we sort of keep track of this?
We'd hate to let this one go. I thought I was done with this 2 years ago, but apparently I was not.
Ms. Iori,
Thank you, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. The DPA supports the petition to separate out the various issues into their own regulations. We think it'll be easier for people who are reviewing the Commission's regulations to find things if they're specifically looking for community solar or net metering. Right now, as Mr. Geddes said, it's all kind of mashed into electric reliability standards where it kind of doesn't really belong.
thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions?
I will move that we
Away.
adopt proposed order number 10317 as presented.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Correa being absent, the motion carries. Number 6 on the calendar is in the matter of the town of Middletown. It's a request for changes to electric service territorial boundaries. And we have, do we have anybody from the city of Middletown present? Madam Secretary, was the city of Middletown noticed of today's provision, today's matter?
Well, the agenda was publicly posted a week ago, so, and I know that both staff and Delmarva have been attempted to contact the town of Middletown regarding this.
Are they represented?
Your Honor, I might be able to answer some of these questions. Brian Jordan for Delmarva Power and Light Company, and I can speak on my my interactions with Middletown since this began. As to whether they're represented, sometimes they are. I had a phone call with them in May, and they did have an attorney on the phone at that meeting. And I've had contact with that attorney since, although it's taken a while to get responses sometimes. However, that attorney has not entered an appearance on any of the dockets. So from my perspective, I see them as represented, so I don't contact Middletown directly since they had an attorney at one point. But officially, like I mentioned, they haven't, this attorney has not entered an appearance on the dockets. Middletown hasn't sent me anything to the contrary saying that that attorney has been discharged or that they've retained new counsel. It's been largely a one-way street trying to get responses from the town. And
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jordan.
You're welcome.
Ms. Pope?
Just to speak on that, we did send the proposed order to the town of Middletown today. And this, the order mentions that there was a consolidation of dockets as well. So the service list on each of those 7 dockets was also notified. So we have notified Middletown of each step along the way.
And Mr. Chair, I did get those emails from staff about the consolidation and what's happening in this docket. So I know that the emails are going through because I've gotten them. And on the letter that I sent and submitted on the docket, I did copy Middletown's attorney who was on that call, even though he had not entered an appearance on any of the dockets.
And no one has called and asked not to be present, for permission not to be present because of some likely outcome of this matter?
No.
The reaction is a no around the table. Okay. Right. Please proceed.
Sure. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I first want to start and thank staff for drafting this order. It's an interesting topic, and with that, there'll be a chance for us to get into the details and the merits and arguments over it. But what this order does, it sets up the docket procedurally so that Delmarva and Middletown will submit at most a 5-page motion or brief on the topic of municipal annexations and which utility can and which utility cannot serve an address that's been annexed. And the deadline to submit those is December 13th, 2023. And the order also has mention of having this heard, I think, December 20th, 2023, before your honors. I think there is an option of either assigning this to a hearing examiner or doing the written briefs. From my perspective, there are no facts in dispute here. It's a pure legal question. And I think our ability to put that into writing like I mentioned, the 5-page motion to submit to the commission will give the commission enough insight into this topic to be aware of what needs to be heard, as opposed to sending it to a hearing examiner. Like I said, there's no facts in dispute. It can be brought directly to the commission and handled that way.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
You're welcome.
Ms. Pope?
Thank you, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. Summer Pope on behalf of staff. So for your consideration today is proposed order 10320, which would set a hearing date to resolve the legal question which Delmarva presented regarding 7 previous dockets. The 7 previous dockets were consolidated into docket 23-1201, and this order would also order the parties to submit a brief ahead of the December 20th hearing, and also order the secretary to publish notice of the hearing in accordance with Title 26. Staff supports the proposed form of order today and respectfully request that the commission enter into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pope. Ms. Iori?
Thank you, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. There is nothing in this proposed form of order regarding a hearing examiner. I mean, this looks to me like this is coming straight to you. So the only other thing I would just note is that, and it does not make a difference, I don't think, for this case, although I do not represent the town of Middletown, so I don't know. But I just noticed that staff had administratively consolidated all of the applications into one docket. And again, as I said, I don't know that it makes a difference for this case, but as a lawyer, I'm paid to see the boogaboos and the things hiding under beds. And I think that, one of these days that could happen and it won't have such a benign outcome. So it would be my suggestion, at least, that when, that the commission at least ratify the consolidation of the dockets.
Thank you very much. Question for you. Do you know of any law off the top of your head that would be contrary to what Delmarva has set forth in their letter memorandum?
I don't think they've written one yet, have
Well,
they?
he wrote a,
I did write a letter dated August 28th, 2023 on.
That's too long ago for me to remember.
And, so, that letter was just setting the table for what I think the discussion is going to be about, involving the law on annexations and service territories, and a preview of the dispute that existed from that May call that I mentioned through the summertime, and where, obviously I set forth Delmarva's perspective and what I thought was Middletown's perspective. So it was just to sort of get this process jump-started.
well, I agree with you, but to be honest with you, I'm not real happy that Middletown's not here, okay? And that they're not represented. And that's an issue as well. And that the issue involved does not seem to be terribly complicated. So but no one seems to be eager to resolve it today, so I've lost one battle today, I'm not gonna try another battle. So I'm gonna vote for the proposed order.
Mr. Chairman, the only question I would have, and maybe Ms. Iori planted the seed, but the consolidation of the dockets, it was a Middletown request. Do they have a right to intervene, or do they have any say in the consolidation of the dockets, or we own that as the commission and the commission staff solely?
If I may, the town of Middletown did not request that the dockets be consolidated, but
I'm sorry, they requested for the changes to electrical service. So I see them as being a party, and what I'm trying to determine is whether or not they have an official say or should be at the table in the decision whether or not to consolidate the dockets, or do we just own that as the commission and commission staff?
Well, the dockets are handled administratively, and I think that the commission secretary does have authority to maintain, and she has authority to have custody of the dockets, which is why staff did administratively proceed and consolidate the dockets, since they all present the same legal question. All the dockets that were previously filed did receive the same letter notifying them of the placeholder docket, which is the current docket today. That went out to the town manager and to the council. So, we did our due diligence, I think, notifying town of Middletown. They did not object, and this happened, I believe, September 13th. We have not received any correspondence since then. We reached out again, or we did contact them again when this order was being circulated. Mr. Jordan notified us that he did receive that email. The same town manager was CC'd on that email, as well as the previous council of record, I suppose. So staff does think it was proper in this instance. That being said, we do see the DPA's point that it could, it could go wrong in the future, but in this instance, we thought that there was properly notification, and we thought that we had the authority to do so under the Rules of Practice and Procedure, Section 1.56, I believe, to do so.
Okay, that's responsive to my concern. Mr. Chair, I have no further questions.
It's under the category of on the basketball court called no harm, no foul. And they're not here to be fouled either, so.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes,
may,
Mr.
just a comment. My interactions with Middletown finally got a response when I sent them a hard copy letter, as opposed to voicemails, emails, and that sort of thing. So I'm certainly happy to take this, not by Pony Express, by actual mail here. I'm certainly, my plan, if the commission is to adopt this order, was to send that order by mail to both Middletown and the attorney who had represented them before, to say, here's the schedule. Do you want to, should we talk about this ahead of time? If that helps settle any issues with it, I plan to contact Middletown after this anyway, by mail again, about the docket.
Okay, I appreciate that. Hopefully that'll get a response. Mr. Drexler?
I move that we adopt order number 10320 as presented.
Second the motion?
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify.
One clarification point.
Yes.
Mr. Jordan,
We're
staff-
ratified, friendly amendment to ratify the amendment, the consolidation of the 7 items from Middletown.
yes, I would just note that the mail should be sent certified.
I will make sure that it's sent certified
And
and regular, and I will get a certificate of mailing that you
That's
have
why I
to
by Middletown this afternoon on the way.
roll the window down and just yell out.
And if the commission would so like, I think that our administrative team would be happy to do so as well. Thank you.
Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And Commissioner Correa, so we notice his absence, so it passes 4-0. Thank you all. Thank you, City of Middletown. And we have no hearing scheduled today. Do we have anybody here from Middletown or anywhere else that would like to say a word to the commission at public comment session? Mr. Hardigan.
Thanks, Chairman Winslow. Just a few items. First, I wanted to thank Ms. Brown and Ms. Beanick for resolving our audio-visual issues in this room. Been a frustrating couple months, but they finally got to the bottom of it yesterday and resolved it. Second, I understand there's some attorneys in the audience who were obligated to attend an administrative proceeding and chose to join us here today. So welcome, and
I was,
I hope it was everything you expected.
I was wondering why Jamie Nutter was here.
He's gone already.
Oh, he's not here? Somebody will tell him. Good. Welcome to the, I guess, future members of the bar are already members. I forgot. Right, well, congratulations and best wishes to you all. Not all the committee chairmen are as mean as I am, so don't get up, you know. Any comments?
Our next meeting is November 8th.
Anybody else have any comments? Good? Okay, we are adjourned.